Resurrecting Your Gains was an enlightening book from Geoffrey, Verity, Schofield about how to keep the gains coming in the gym. Now, if you feel like you've plateaued, you feel like you haven't made any progress in months, or if you feel like you're missing some of the puzzle pieces that's keeping you from getting absolutely huge, this book is for you. Now, when you buy the book, you do get the ebook, but you also get an audiobook read by Geoffrey himself. I only read the book, so I'm not going to comment on the audiobook quality, although I'm sure it's very soothing to hear Geoffrey in your ears while you're strolling throughout your day.
I had a friend who did this, and when you're injecting steroids into the butt, as you read online, it's into the cheek. It's into the butt cheek, not into the hole.
I'm not going to go into everything covered in this book because it is a lot. It's 160 pages of knowledge to help you find your blind spots in training when you feel like you reach your natural potential, when in reality you're probably just doing some simple things wrong that are keeping you from progressing and are limiting your progress. The main chapters of the book go over measuring your progress, your expectations and effort, recovery, dieting, programming, exercises, technique, and fatigue management. The last couple of chapters examine your program and help troubleshoot them to see what's wrong. So let's start with what I really enjoyed about the book. Each chapter is concise, it's not filled with too much workout jargon, and towards the end of many sections, Geoffrey puts you in line to expect if the item you're reading about is actually hindering your progress or not. We can look at the end of his sleep section and read, what is the likelihood that sleep is limiting your progress? Quite high. Many sections, he will say if it's limiting your progress or not with the quite high or quite low, which helps put you on the right direction if it's worth something looking into further or not. So then you're not shooting in the dark all the time and you know what you're actually going to look for. He includes images when they're useful in the book, like some sample training logs and visuals that explain certain concepts. A good example is when he used helicopter game. If you're old like me, you probably played this in middle school, and it's to reference progressive overload and how there is a ceiling and a floor to progressive overload. If you fly too high in terms of adding too much weight, too much volume, crap technique, you'll hit the ceiling and explode. Too little, you fall down and also explode. So there are nice little items spread throughout the book, nice little analogies. So what were my favorite lessons from the book? And there are many lessons I learned in this book, but these are just the ones I bookmark along my way reading the book. And I'm not going to dive deep into all these lessons because I don't want to give away too much of the book for free, because it's very obvious Geoffrey put in a lot of time into this book. The first point was when to swap exercises. This is something I personally needed greater knowledge on, and something my program, the Big Boy Basics, lacks to go further into detail. But there are a couple main points that are mentioned in Geoffrey's book. One, the greater amount of technicality in a movement, let's say like a squat versus a leg extension, the longer it should stay in your program. It will take longer to get benefits from a squat because there's a lot of learning involved versus a leg extension, which anyone can really hop on and use the machine. Because you need to take more time learning the squat, it should stay longer in your program. It's more technical. Then you can base it on how progress is on your squat. Is it beating you up more? Do you not feel the muscles being targeted anymore? And other points he gets into in the book. The second lesson from this book was the idea of a tracker lift, which was a fresh concept to me. Basically, it's a lift that would reasonably track your progress. If you got stronger on that exercise for reps, that is a good indicator you grew the muscle you wanted to. So how do you choose a tracker lift? Really, the tracker lift is a lift where the limiting factor is the muscle you actually want to train. It has to have a good range of motion, and it has to have a low level of technical proficiency. I left out some points, but these are really the main ones for me. So let's compare a bench press to like a chest press machine. A bench press would not be a good example of a tracker lift because maybe your triceps are actually the limiting factor on your bench press and not your chest. Or maybe technique just sucks and that's actually the limiting factor since it's a highly technical movement. So instead, for a tracker lift for the chest, you'd want like a machine chest press since it has a lower technical difficulty. You're locked in place when you're pressing, and you hit your chest more, especially if it's a converging one where your arms kind of come closer together. So if you get stronger on the chest press machine with the same technique, same tempo, there's a good chance you put on some muscle. The third lesson is really just me wanting to toot my own horn. For those who followed my Big Boy Basics series or download my free ebook in the description on my website, you know I am more on the low volume path for many body parts. I do 9 to 12 weekly sets for most exercises. In Geoffrey's section, non-overreaching, which really just means overtraining, he states, most people don't have to worry about overreaching, but it's something you want to avoid. And you'll probably want to err on the side of less volume, rather than more. You're getting diminishing returns with high volume training anyway, and filling your pie hole too full takes time to undo. This is similar to my thought process as well. When you're first starting out, start on low volume, work your way up in volume as you progress in years and in strength, and then they'll make more sense. Speaking of my website, guys, go check it out now, atalafit.com. I offer coaching calls, and I have my free Big Boy Basics template and my free ebook on there to download. So check it out, get the free stuff, book a call if you feel like you need some help. Back to the video. The fourth major point is finding your optimal training plan is like a game of Mastermind. If you haven't played that game, you're trying to guess the other person's color code by putting pegs on a board, then you'll get hints if some are right or wrong on the board. And this is similar with training. There is a great way to train for you, but it's going to take some experimentation to figure out. You have to figure out your own volume, your own frequency, your own intensity, your training split, how hard you like to train. There are many things to figure out. And the longer you train, the more you take notes. You have a training log, right? The more you fail, the more you succeed and figure things out, you'll be closer to figuring out your secret mastermind code. So this is really a great concept that it goes further into detail in the book. Now, I did have more bookmarks in the book, but these are the main ones that I'm choosing to share. So is the book worth it? I mean, for the price, $30, most definitely. This book captures things that you won't find on YouTube Fitness and gives you an approach that you can really see your blind spots in training. I'm going to put a link to Geoffrey's website and channel in the description. If you need to find a program that works for you, I have a bunch of program reviews in this playlist here. And a like would be appreciated if you made it to the end. Peace.